Kale is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah, there's going to be... Correct, there's going to be a lot of Kale and not as many Blade of the Ruined Kings, I guess is the best way to sum that up. But we are here in Game 1, the first game of the day. Gambit Gaming on the left versus paiN Gaming on the right. At least they're banned out by GG. I'll see what paiN want to go for here. Gambit, of course, probably the favourites to win the tournament, in fact, with how good their track record at the Intel Extreme Masters is. And there's another ban that got nerfed slightly on live. Xin Zhao goes straight into the ban pool, and Kale already done. Alright, so a lot of this definitely expected here in the early stages of the bans, but I guess, are we going to see any targeted bans here from Gambit Gaming? Oh, that's a targeted ban, jeez. Volley Bear, straight to the heart of Diamond Prox there. No bear, thank you. None at all. We don't want any of that business here.
And on this stream yesterday, we saw World Elites Clear Love play Volibear to just amazing extent. I believe 12 kills in a 17-minute surrender. So Volibear very strong. Again, another champion shown off by Diamond Prox. So the bans are coming thick and fast for him. Yeah,
felt like Clear Love was doing his best Diamond Prox impression yesterday, and it looks pretty good. Anivia banned out there. That's definitely a target to paiN, and Tarek there. That's the last ban, kind of interestingly there. That feels like a North American ban to me, because they seem to like to play a lot of Tarek. But oh man. I mean,
Ed Ward special.
I mean, if the Gambit fans are here, then they're going to be cheering right now, because this man's Thresh does horrible, horrible things to people.
From what I understand, it's typified that he is the carrier and that Genja is his support, especially when he gets on this, on the Thresh.
The Thresh Prince, he's in. He's the first pick here. And I mean,
it's the first bad pun of the day.
Yeah. You guys can keep telling in the chat if you want. There'll be probably plenty more coming up, although we'll do what we can to not go too overboard. I mean, Gambit Gaming, you have to be pretty happy that Thresh is, you know, here at this tournament, because that is definitely a champion that Edward has gotten a lot of value out of, and it's a very strong first pick here. I mean, it just sets such a tone for any lane that you have to play against it. But it looks like we're going to have Lulu maybe as half a response to that Thresh. Oh, maybe not.
Kha'Zix is a champion that we've seen Alexich playing a lot recently LCS. He really likes those AD assassins like Zed and Kha'Zix, and it looks like Kha'Zix getting potentially taken away from Alexich here.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be heading in with that smite, although that is a possibility. But yeah, Kha'Zix and Rumble, two very good champions that stapled together do pretty awesome things, actually, if you can set up the resets for Kha'Zix. So strong first two picks here for paiN, but Vi is immediately getting considered. This is another champion that didn't get nerfed on this patch, that is nerfed on live.
And the amount of ganking pressure, specifically in mid lane, where she can just cover 1,300 units and turret dive aplenty. I mean, if you choose a mid with any sort of follow-up damage, that ultimate Diamond Prox will be able to produce on Vi is just unstoppable. And Shen coming out here as well would be a very interesting pick.
I mean, another specialty champion for Gambit Gaming, as it were. Darian is definitely known for his Shen play. And it would be no surprise to see it get locked in. There it is. And do they want Vi as well? I mean, you're right about mid lane. Vi is one of the few gankers that really punishes mid laners if they're not careful. And that's such a good thing for Alex as well, because he's kind of described himself as the passive player on his team. You know, he likes to farm. But, you know, if he's there, if Diamond Prox is around to help him get kills, then hey, why not? I'll set it up with a Vi ult. But we haven't even gotten to Vi Thresh. That is potentially devastating in bottom lane as well, especially if that's going to be the carry that paiN are running here, because, I mean, any carry, even with an escape, has trouble against Vi, but Varus is very, very immobile after he gets assaulted.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Varus picks coming out all over the shop. I mean, the 575 range helps him in trades down bottom. He has that ultimate to disengage if an AD assassin tries to get on top of him, just like this Zed, which is being mulled over here for Alexich. And you know, he does do percentage health damage, which has definitely been in vogue recently. So it's a nice pick, but you're right. It's not necessarily a safe pick, and it's a very easy champion with diamonds to tunnel onto here.
I guess my description of Alex as a passive player may be a little off given the champions he's been playing recently. Zed's certainly not a passive champion, capable of farming very efficiently, especially if he has blue buff, which is kind of a funny thing for a ninja, but we'll get to that later. I do really like the MF here, by the way, as well. I think it's when you have a lot of when you have an AD heavy team, having that bullet time able to apply Black Cleaver if you do go for it can be very, very important to try and maximize your damage in a way. So I like this pick in general. Genja's shown that he can play it quite well, and I think it plays well with Thresh as well. So all those things combined is something that I really like. This, though, is a really clever last pick in my opinion, although they might... What is going on?
Some style choices coming out here. We'll have to see what they stick with.
I think this might be the most stylish of all, though, if they do run this. Okay, maybe Lulu instead. Lulu feels safe to me, and they are going to run Lulu here. I mean, I mentioned Vi getting on top of Varus can be very bad news for him. Lulu does a pretty good job of protecting him after he gets ulted, because, as I said, he's not going to really get out with a gap closer, so just being wild growth there and able to stand his ground and fight could get the job done here.
And we definitely see the style choice coming out from Genja. He's been running this Ghost cleanse quite consistently on Misfortune. Not taking Flash on a champion with Unnatural Escape sounds like a death sentence, but if you're aware of the limitations of your summoner spell pickup and just work around them, it can be really smart.
Yeah, I mean, if Edward does his job as well and peels pretty efficiently, it's something Thresh can do, then yeah, I'm not sure. Do you want to maybe enlighten me on the Ghost pickup a little? Because I kind of get it, but what specific use does Genja actually have for it? Is he
apart from the obvious, running away from a gang.
Yeah, that's true.
The one advantage is in a team fight, he can very quickly reposition and get that ult off and get into a favorable spot over a ridge or just in a really safe spot and get that ultimate off. And AD carries, there was a time when AD carries took those double escape summoners and used them both to great use. It's not really viable anymore. You need a combat or defensive summoner really to trade effectively. Ghost has its own set of advantages. There are some champions which much easier to peel away from by yourself with Ghost, but you're right, Thresh does have that additional, almost Blink-like ability, so, I mean, Ghost is just a style choice that Genja's been putting out there to great success.
I mean, a lot of people have actually been talking about, like, the Fury enchantment for carries early on, which, obviously is great. I kind of feel like a little bit of that here, in that it just helps you, Ghost helps you kite so well, and it's kind of a thing that people just haven't picked up for a very long time. Ghost has not been popular for a while, but moving very quickly for an extended period of time is very, very powerful in the right hands. And, it's, as you said, it's not a joke that Genja's picking this up here. This is something he's been doing. It's something that he prefers, that he likes. It is his style. And, I mean, in this case, MF's going to be able to Ghost, cleanse out of whatever CC, reposition for the ult, and then still be able to move at a very aggressive speed as well. I mean, I'm also kind of amused by the fact that we could get some crazy, like, strut Ghost ganks. But, I don't know, maybe that's just the dream.
Just the dream. As we see the champions move out here, first game of the day for the B stream, we have GG BenQ on the left-hand side here, on the blue side, and on the red side, it's paiN Gaming.
Yep. So Diamond here just hanging out, scouting out his jungle. There's a ward that gets shot by paiN, so it can have a little bit of vision here towards the wraiths. Let's see Alex in the mid. He's going to be on Zed for this one. Darien there on Shen, as he almost always is there in the top lane. Down the bottom, Genja's going to be on Misfortune and Thresh. Everybody's favourite support here. Edward, one of the game's most aggressive supports, one of the game's most well-known supports, is going to be on a champion at this point that is fast becoming another signature champion. Okay.
Now the mid lane matchup here is very interesting to me. We see Alex has opened up with the red pot here, which definitely gives him kill potential in this lane. Having a red pot gives you the defensive crutch of being able to have an instant, with its 120 health heal from level 1 onwards, and that 15 AD is just so strong in trades that you might not necessarily be able to calculate the extra damage that the red pot's going to put out in a trade, or the health to win, a really early battle. But with the matchup here, I mean, Zed has natural wave clear from level 3 or so onwards. If he goes 1 point W, 2 point Z, he can use his escape quite comfortably and outpush Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix only really gets good clear when he gets both points in his W and evolves it. So the adaptation that Kami's done here and picked up the teleport, it's very smart, because Alex will be able to very early push in waves and try and influence other lanes. Summon a teleport negates that.
Yep, so just to go through the rest of paiN here as well. In the jungle, Ramadi jungle, we have Sir T, who's going to be on Jub, and Sifu down the bottom lane, that's correct, on Rumble there, so it's going to be 1v2 for him. And in the top lane, to round things out, XP on here, and what we decided, was it BRTT?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, BRTT there, 80k, but on Varus. 2v1 up against Darien and Shen. Shen, though, not the worst 1v2 champion. Neither is Rumble, actually. Both these champions can do pretty well in these situations.
So there are multiple schools of thought with these 2v1 lanes. I can see, it seems that with a Lulu pick, you really expect a really strong pushing onto a turret coming out here from paiN. Thresh can do so many things regarding mobility that I wouldn't be surprised to see denying as the aim of the game for bot lane, for Gambit Gaming.
Yeah, Edward's already just being aggressive here on Thresh, keeping control of the top bit of brush. And just attacking Rumble every chance he gets with that Q. Oh, with the proc effect of his Q. So really just trying to bully Rumble as much as he can early on. And that's, as you said, two different kind of schools here in terms of 2v1 laning, but they're both going to work out pretty well here, especially if Vi decides to hang out down the bottom lane for a dive here on this Rumble, who is still level 1. And the Jarvan going to meet Vi here. As Diamond just does a little bit of damage to Cersei, Jarvan just going back and forth. Bolt Breaker out there, sort of denting blows activated as well there on Jarvan, but just a bit of a love tap there from Vi, nothing too major.
And that's a product of the matchup here, Beige Time. If you take a red part and you have the wave clear advantage, Diamond feels free to invade anywhere near around the mid lane area because Zed will have so much more presence in any sort of skirmishes compared to a Kha'Zix with just the Fairy Charm and parts.
Here comes the dive down the bottom. Not quite 3 minutes, but around 3.5. The Juggler, though, coming in as well. Edward, a little bit too far forward, has to flash it out of the way. Uses his Dark Passage there as the Lantern tries to get him out. Pushes him out in there as well. But Kami's down with the teleport, and beautiful first blood collected there by Kha'Zix. And that was a very nice defense of what is something that is normally quite hard to deal with. But that teleport really helped out in that situation, even more than just Jarvan being there as well. Who's now coming into mid lane as well. Alex could be in a bit of trouble, but Living Shadow's out there without too much trouble. And poor Edward, his aggression almost cost him there. He gets first blooded by paiN.
Yeah, and a very early advantage for the Brazilian underdogs here. And up top you can see a lot of damage done to turret here. It will go down probably before the 5-minute mark.
And, you know, if you're doing this sort of push lane, that's kind of ideal. It does go down, in fact, well before the 5-minute mark at around 4.5. So Darian now just has no turret to farm it. Going to try and do what he can here. In the mid, Alex is pushing very aggressively here as Zed with that Shadow Slash. Just trying to bully Kami while he can. But as you said, that teleport kind of gives Kami a little bit more reach early on than he might not have normally. And it's
the combat summoner though, the Ignite, and having the red pot active, you can see the red hue around Alex means that Kami wants no bar of trying to fight this Zed in the middle lane.
No, and he's kind of showing a lot of that. Alex just aggressively pushing here, and Kami's just happy to beat his turret, throwing up Void Spikes where he can, just trying to collect CS. In fact, there is already a reasonably large CS discrepancy, and Kami going back is going to hurt him more as well. In fact, if Alex hits 6, he could start roaming, but he's not quite there yet. But that is going to force Kha'Zix back to base. Pick himself up a Tear of the Goddess nice and early for some Void Spike spam, but he does need to evolve that W if he wants to really get the wave clear done. So he'll get there soon, but not quite yet. And Zed is overtaking him in CS by a reasonable amount, at least early on here. And now bottom lane is some sort of party. Because Diamond is like, okay, they're still pushing. I probably need to defend here.
And Alex looks like he's responding, but does step through a ward, so he's going to have to go the long way here. Will they put all their resources into a gank here?
Maybe. I mean, Deathmark is up. The red pot has still got a reasonable amount of duration. So if they were going to go, now's not a bad time. In fact, BRDT could be in a lot of trouble. There's the flash Deathmark, but everything else going to miss. Vi coming in as well, though. The damage coming out. The barrier activated. The hail of arrows in there as well. And a great combination of slows there by Lulu and Varus. Completely shuts that down. And 2 flashes burn there for both other flashes, I suppose.
But wonderful play from paiN here. Look, they're pushing onto the turret that's already at half health. I don't know if they'll stick to it. The flag toss is down, so quick EQ escape isn't available for Jarvan, but they will get massive damage on the mid turret here.
And he even puts it back as well, probably in range of the attack speed aura as well for a couple of extra auto attacks, but able to get out safely with his gap closer. And really nice response there, protecting their duo lane up in the top there with, again, some very nice slows. That is kind of one of the nice things about Varus Lulu. It's like a lot of Lulu lanes, it's very poke heavy, and you can really...
Now I'm interested to see Varus and Lulu go back up top lane here. Now they've just blown their summoners in full view. It's very well known that their summoners are down. Given how aggressively MF and Thresh have been pushing down bottom, maybe it would have been safe for them to go into that bot lane and just hug their turret and be safe there. There is a danger up top here, depending on where the lane ends up equalizing, that they might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, especially once Vi hits her ultimate, which is going to be certainly before those flashes are back up. There's definitely danger there. So we'll have to see. I have to think that Diamond, if they do stay up there, is really going to be looking to gank as soon as he gets his ult. Although he may want mid instead. Rumble actually down the bottom throws out his ultimate. Jarvan was looking like he just came in to defend, but nothing is really stopping MF Thresh at this point, unfortunately. They're just still pushing here. They're going to be pretty close to taking out this bottom turret as well.
And it's not just safety that's a concern here. The other problem is, I mean, the reason why the meta grew to have 2 people down bottom is dragon control. Having 2 members up top here pushing in, vulnerable to ganks from mid, also gives them less dragon control, which, you know, at this point they're ahead. I mean, they're 500 gold up, they're feeling good, they got a turret down. I mean, to me, the swap down bot is logical, but maybe they just want to get as much pressure pulled to the top lane here.
They're doing a lot of damage here as well to this turret. I mean, Diamond, he could get blue and he would hit 6 as a result. Alex looking to gank again though, his ultimate's back up. Zed probably going to collect blue here as Kha'Zix is sniffing around, maybe going to steal it? No, actually. Diamond decides to get it instead with Smite, maybe fearing the Void Spike coming in. Didn't want to get it stolen away, and again, valuable experience for Vi here. She's very, very close to level 6. In fact, Diamond is surprisingly not 6 yet. Oh, fails that Vault Breaker 2 through those trees. Wall's a little bit too thick there, unfortunately, but he will hit 6 after this camp.
His contemporary, Surtees, at the same point, so not too surprising here.
That's true. I mean, if you've power farmed the jungle, you can usually get it about 7.5 minutes, but he's about a minute behind that threshold, mainly due to some presence he's had around the map and some invades he's tried as well. In fact, double buffs here, plus ultimate for Vi, hopefully means a dead somebody on the paiN side, because Gambit, they really need to make sure they get something out of this Vi pick here, and they already committed a lot top, didn't get anything out of it, just a couple of summoners that were essentially traded. And now we're going to see, is Vi still the terror that she is on this old patch? I mean, they changed a bit about her on live, but her ultimate is always going to remain probably the most spectacular thing about her, and I think bottom lane could be in some trouble here as Diamond's going to come in.
Oh, no. Good job using the whimsy there to get away from the gank. They kind of need Zed to respond here as well and to use, just basically brute force a gank up top, but it's just such aggressive play from paiN to be wailing on an inner turret at the 9-minute mark with their summoners down.
Yeah, they've really intelligently actually put a pink ward at the blue buff as well, so not only do they have vision of that, so they can maybe claim it, but they've got exclusive vision around the area, and that's a very key choke point when you're pushing a tier 2 turret, is that one there. Diamond here actually going to take quite a bit of poke there, down to half health. So he takes a little bit of damage, and the push is not letting up here. I mean, maybe this is, as you suggested, paiN's plan. They're like, alright, well, we're going to start, this 1v2, and we're not going to stop. And Rumble, to his credit, has not given up his turret down in bottom yet. He's buying a lot of time, if nothing else, for paiN.
It's important to give credit where credit's due for Gambit Gaming here. They're actually only 100 gold behind, despite being a turret down, which is a lot of global gold, and First Blood, only 100 gold behind, and that's all mechanics and superior farming.
I mean, you can see mid lane is a pretty big discrepancy there, as Zed is well over 30 CS ahead of Kha'Zix. Bottom lane's actually, the 80 carries, Gender's actually down by a couple, but not too much. It's 2 at the moment, which is going to grow pretty significantly. And Shen has had a little bit more freedom as Rumble. I mean, as I said, credit to Titu for keeping the turret up, but he is suffering as a result with farm, and he just can't get anywhere near this Thirst Misfortune combo. Oh, down the bottom side, Diamond's going to try and force it here, but no flash there, Vault Breaker not quite there. Just waiting a couple more seconds for Flash to come back up, but again to no avail as we got mid lane all craziness all the time here. Kami taking quite a bit of damage, Ignite going off there as well. Sertino coming in as well, in fact could kill Alex here, but there's the stand United from Darian. Gonna maybe be able to turn it around the Shadow Dash. No, not really gonna go off. In fact, maybe if Diamond comes in they will go for it. They're setting up. This could be bad news for Jarvan. He denting blows. There's a Shadow Dash as well, and doesn't even need the ultimate as Alex just calmly walks back to mid lane, and finally a kill on the board.
Top lane keeps pushing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if this is paiN's plan, then they'll make one kill there. They'll sacrifice a couple of cooldowns on that kill as Kha'Zix again takes a ton of damage. Diamond's so deep in there. Does finally get the kill. He uses his ultimate as well, and trades, of course, as Rumble picks up the kill in mid lane, but I don't know, maybe it's worth it. I'm curious to see what they would have typed in chat. But there is another trade in the mid there, and Darian now using his level advantage, or slight level advantage.
They really want to get the turret down here, because it gives them so much control over the enemy blue buff. Oh, just a gutting. It's 37 health away.
Yeah.
Will not fall here, but if they could get that inner turret down, they basically have a massive, massive vision advantage when it comes to potentially stealing away this, or even monopolizing the enemy blue.
Yeah, well, Titu with a nice push there gets a second outer turret for paiN, and collects that one. Edward sadly not available to really defend that one, and Alex off buying in the store. Was not able to defend there, so the plan here for paiN and pushing seems to be working out early on. I mean, Darian's now pushing back. He's actually going for Warmogs first, interestingly, not Sunfire Cape. So if the push does continue here for paiN, he's going to have a little bit of trouble pushing it out without that item. So kind of curious to see why he went Warmogs first here. But I mean, if he wants to be super tanky and just fight with his team, then makes a lot of sense. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he just wants to sponge a lot of damage if he thinks he's going to be in this 1v2 situation for, honestly, a lot longer than anybody really expects. We're at 12.5 minutes, and paiN are still in top lane with their duo.
And no dragon's been taken as a counter to that. The direct counter to having 2 people present or a jungler camping a top lane is to, use that advantage down bot and take a dragon. But it's been sitting pretty for 12.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that teleport from Kami gives him a lot of presence. They've just made sure that dragon isn't really taken here, and Diamond is focused. After those flashes went down, he's really tried to make something happen top, and the rest of Gambit Gaming just not really said anything to dragon, really. A couple of wards around the area, but no one's really making a big move to take it. Obviously, paiN, as you noted, don't really want to. Not with the situation they've got going right now, anyway. Darian is going to protect this top turret with his life, by the way, and looks like Gambit Gaming decided it's down the bottom lane. Rumble goes down. Titu there finally getting picked off by the Genja Misfortune combo. And Vi, as I said, is taking your advice here, Papa. She's going to solo Dragon there. Maybe not quite what they had in mind, but if it gets the job done, then that's all good. Top tower goes down there as well. Shen looks like he will get out of that one, and looks like we are going to have a little bit of a team fight. Vi does pick up the Dragon there, and Jarvan gets himself out. Living Shadow off there. Bit of a slow from Shadow / there from Zed, but Jarvan gets out there, and a Dragon for a tower is probably not the worst trade here.
Given the actual health values, you can say it's a little bit more skewed in Gambit Gaming's favor just because it was literally one hit away from being taken down. But in terms of sheer numbers, you would switch an inner turret for a Dragon any day of the week.
I mean, they sadly lost that kill down bottom, which is why Gambit Gaming are currently about 1,000 gold ahead here in this one. So that was not to plan. Tier 2 finally succumbs to all the pressure and is unable to hold off Misfortune Thresh for much longer. Darian, though, I mean, he's struggling here a little as well. He's CSing reasonably well, and definitely out CSing his, I guess, normal lane opponent here in Rumble, but that's a lot of pressure for paiN. I mean, they have 3 turrets at this point, including, you know, obviously the 2 outer turrets. I mean, what do you do here if you're paiN? You know, you've given yourself map control by taking out these early turrets. What's your next move?
Well, one thing I think they've done well is to delay teamfight until Razor, or Kami, sorry, in this case, hits level 11. It's when you hit level 11 as Kha'Zix that you'll be able to evolve both the Void Spikes and the Leap to get that Leap reset, and his teamfight presence as a result goes up exponentially. It's level 11 where you really, really start to feel like a strong AD assassin in Kha'Zix. So it'd be interesting to see what their goal is. I mean, pushing has definitely been the name of their game. It's been done to much success, but you know, we're gonna have to wait for some of the completed items to come out here and just try and gauge what paiN wants to do. It seems like the one thing that's clear is they want this last outer turret.
Yeah, and they've got 4 people actually and the teleport up for Kha'Zix setting up for it. I mean, Diamond was looking for a gank down bottom. He's like, oh, okay, no, they're all coming. Bullet time, they're being used by Misfortune. Almost clears out the entire creep wave. A couple of souls collected there by Thresh with his lantern. And the rest of Gambit will fend off that creep wave for now. So they have more time to respond. Darian's ult is up as well on Shen, so he's able to get in there and defend. Kami taking a little bit of damage here against Shen. Not really able to trade as effectively as he might like, but he's up in top lane now. Just chilling, trying to push that one out, make sure Darian doesn't get a free turret. And paiN are definitely committing down here for this last outer turret. I mean, we talk a lot in this stream about just how important getting those outer turrets and how much of an early advantage it can be if you can get all 3 down in reasonably short order. But you have to believe that Gambit are going to be protecting this as best they can, and Alex is already starting the counter push in mid as well. In fact, he's going to get mid turret for the first turret here for Gambit Gaming. And looks like paiN have backed off. They're like, alright, well, we tried, but grouping down bottom just didn't get that tower, unfortunately.
One of the advantages of having an AD assassin in a solo lane, as we see Alex push very aggressively onto Kami here, is that AD assassins, they scale on AD from their items, but that the items they buy, which, you know, scales their skills, but it also scales their auto attack, and then to a crazy degree when it comes to Zed, because he also has that AD death cap almost, the AD 25% bonus AD steroids. So if you leave a turret unattended with a Zed in the lane, it's going to go down fast.
Yep, and Blade the Ruined King is coming up on Zed, by the way. In fact, Deathmark being used here on Kami. Stand United in as well. This is going to be very bad news for BRTT. XPion coming in as well. There's the Wild Growth going off from Lulu. And Varus taking a lot of damage, but does flush out of the way. Alex gets exhausted in there as well, taking a ton of damage as Darian finally picks off Kha'Zix there. Now chasing down Varus here as well. Jarvan coming in to defend. Darian probably bit off a little bit more than he could chew here. Although Diamond comes in to save him. Good Shadow Dash out there, but I think he does die on the end there to Jarvan's red buff. Diamond though going in, picks up the kill there on Varus. Rumble goes down as Diamond flashes out of the way, and Genja in at the last second to deter the rest of paiN from going in. But as the dust settles, a 2-for-1 trade there for Gambit Gaming, with somehow Alex just escaping there.
Yeah, and Jarvan just never had a good opportunity or opening there to use his Cataclysm, which maybe could have secured another kill for paiN, but 1v2 trade, very much in the advantage of GG.
Yeah, and GG, despite, you know, being down in turrets, being down in objectives. I mean, they're up at Dragon, I guess, which is going to even up the global gold a little bit more, but they're slightly ahead in kills. They've actually got themselves a neat little advantage. About 3,500 gold ahead they are. And given how aggressive paiN were in their pushing early on, kind of surprising to see that Gambit Gaming have managed to carve themselves a nice little lead here at before 20 minutes in the game. So nothing huge just yet, but I mean, GG have not been held down by this pressure that paiN have dealt out, and you have to think that, you know, with Zed getting farmed, with Blade of the Ruined King now finished, with everybody else doing pretty well on farm as well, that we're going to see a pretty explosive mid-game team fight here from Gambit.
Well, to some degree, Tudu was kind of left to the wolves here. He was in a 1v2 lane where the enemy lane was choosing to halt the lane. They weren't looking to push. They weren't looking to get an early turret. Whereas paiN, of course, as we saw, they've taken 2 turrets. As Alex looks to equalize that a bit, and taking 2 turrets, Shen had effectively free farm and double CS almost here for Darien.
Yeah, in fact, that bottom turret is still up. It's got 262 health on it, but it's still up here. And paiN have held on to that, but as you said, it's really starved Rumble of farm as the top tower goes down there. Zed going to pick that one up.
And this is the point where paiN need to make something happen. This is kind of very experienced play coming out of Alex here. He's happy split pushing top without a teleport, knowing that Dragon's down, they have the time for Dragon. paiN not in a position to take Baron, and he's just confident that paiN won't be able to make
there's the
advantage.
Deathmark, leaps into the trees there. Alexit's going to all in this Kha'Zix, and the damage coming out there from the Deathmark, so massive, and oh man, that passive there from Zed as well, just so much burst damage going down on that Kha'Zix, and sadly Kami falls there, just making his way up top, trying to defend the split push. I suppose, as you were saying, Alexit with the split push there.
A team like Gambit Gaming know how to respond to early situations. Like, paiN put so many resources, they had 2 members top for so long to get those 2 turrets, and then just in the blink of an eye, Alex went top and took down a full health turret in about 10 seconds of auto-attacking.
Yeah, I mean, and of course when Darian's ult's up as well, Zed feels even safer. I mean, he can't teleport out, but Shin can teleport to him. And any 1v1, Zed looks pretty happy in at that point, as he just demolished Kha'Zix there as he roamed his way up top. But even a 2v1, Darian can get in there, and they can probably fight that as well if they burst the right target. So the amount of people that paiN have to commit in order to kill Alex is pretty staggering, even though, as you said, if he gets 5-man ganked, he probably won't get out. But I don't know. I mean, Zed's also pretty slippery. That Living Shadow can be pretty irritating, assuming he doesn't use it loosely to clear creep waves out. And paiN now going to go for a dragon. This is really nice from them, actually. I've identified that, people are in the wrong spot there, so they'll pick up a very clean dragon, and Diamond looking to go in. Just Vault Breakers in the other direction, realizing that he doesn't want to fight 3v5, even if Shen could come in and teleport.
A teleport forced out here from Kami, just so that Darien doesn't get free damage on the inner turret.
Yeah, just so much pressure here from Gambit. I mean, it's kind of funny how they were getting pushed in for the first 10 minutes of this game, and they've said, okay, we're slightly ahead, we've gotten good farm, we're just going to split push you. That's what Shen's good at. And you're a teleport Kha'Zix, he might be okay.
Down bottom here.
Yeah, problems. The box goes out there as well. BRTT taking quite a bit of pain. A good poly though as bullet time comes out, and see Varus. He's just going to melt there under that ultimate. And Diamond not even required there for that one. Had his ultimate ready to go, but no one in range. It's all good though. And Thresh MF we're talking about, it's a pretty good aggressive combo. You line up everything.
Yeah, I mean, the aptly named death sentence there proved it for Razor. I mean, for BRTT, he had no answer to getting hooked and all the CC that followed up.
Java now bleeding as well as Ignite goes off, but he will be safe there for the moment. Down the bottom, 3 members of Gambit Gaming do push down here, so they're going to try and get this turret. They'll probably succeed pretty easily as well here. Rumble there with a defensive equalizer, trying to get the push up. Death sentence so there from Thresh, pushes his back as well with his Z. Damage coming now from Diamond as Tiddy's going to take quite a chunk of damage, but Genja busy with the turret, just trying to take it out. Not quite enough damage to get it down there, unfortunately. And Edward is always being very aggressive there in his support, so, but doesn't quite buy enough time for MF to finish off that turret. Looks like, again, Alex is bullying Kami in his own jungle. Going to take away this red buff as well, which is absolutely deadly on Zed. Double buff Zed now as well for even more damage. And, I mean, really, paiN are just being stretched so thin across the map here.
And all their great work early has been undone here as Gambit Gaming take the turret lead now.
Yeah, 4 for 3 now in favor of them, and you can see they're creeping up. They're about 8,000 gold ahead at this point. And really smart play from them. They identified what was going on in the game. They said, you know what, we're not horribly behind, we're getting farm, we're actually beating them slightly in farm. I mean, they don't know the exact numbers most likely, but they're experienced players. They can identify that we're not horribly behind here, we're pretty close to even, if not slightly ahead maybe. Alex here looking very aggressively for a 1v4 gank. Not quite gank actually, I guess he's the one getting ganked, but he'll Living Shadow out, realizing that he probably didn't want to trade himself there. He's on a killing spree at this point. Although maybe not, with only 1 kill, that's kind of funny.
It's just interesting to me that for the first, say, 12, 13 minutes of this game, no team fights occurred, mostly due to paiN really strongly pushing on, keeping 2 members in the top. Gambit Gaming couldn't get an answering dragon, and therefore no team fight happened around dragon. Subsequent to that, it's been Gambit going to split push mode, really taking down those turrets, going ahead in the turret count, and still at 23 minutes, we have not had a true team fight here.
No. Just a couple of skirmishes, and mainly just a lot of pushing. And as I said, Gambit, they identified a position in this game and they said, okay, you know what? We can actually split push here pretty effectively, and they've slowly but surely just ground out an advantage here against paiN. And, you know, their plan when they started, it looked really good, but kind of towards the mid-game here, they just don't quite have the resources to be split pushing. Certainly Shen or Zed, who both identified that, hey, we're strong, and Gambit Gaming, to their credit, is still doing it. This looks like a Dignitas in the LCS. They're just not leaving their lanes, just going to push as hard as they can.
But the game is very much being played on GG's wavelength here. They're making all the plays. You know, after that inner turret went down, they've decided basically every skirmish that's happened, every objective's been taken. It feels like paiN need to do something to answer here, but with their, you know, with their map vision advantage completely dissipated, it'll be interesting to see how they can make something happen.
And the difficult thing is, it's really hard to know what you need to be doing. I mean, that comes from experience. I mean, Gambit clearly identified what was happening in this game and said, okay, that's fine. This isn't a big deal, a couple of turrets. We can live through this. We've got a plan, you know, and they've executed very well here in taking control of the game. The problem in this situation for paiN is that when you're in this kind of situation, you have to know you need to make something happen. The problem is, though, the longer you wait, the harder it gets to actually make a play. And that's the situation we're facing right now, is that Gambit Gaming are just starving PNG off this map. And really,
and the best example or the best reflection of that is definitely the warding situation, in that Gambit Gaming has, or some of them have recently gone now, they have aggressive wards in the enemy jungle, whereas paiN only has defensive wards in their own jungle. You can see a lot of pink wards out here to try and stave that ward advantage that Gambit Gaming had, but no aggressive wards for paiN shows you that they think they're behind. They think that even getting to their own buffs is going to be a question mark, and it's only when you start pushing the enemy buffs, pushing the neutrals, that you can start to come back into a game.
Yeah, and now Zed going to get another free buff, picks up the blue buff this time around. As we said, despite being a ninja, despite being an energy-based champion, Zed absolutely loves his blue buff. Diamond unfortunately has to pick that one up, but he'll happily steal that away from paiN. Again, just denying them resources as best they can. Alex here thinking about going all in there. Deathmark here on Takami. The rest of paiN responding though, and I think Alex realizes that he doesn't really want to go too deep. Flashes as well to prevent from being slowed there from Void Spike, and you know, he'll just go back to farming. I mean, that's all of paiN here. Look where the rest of Gambit Gaming are. They're just still pushing the lanes in, still pushing them past the river. I mean, Darian now with Sunfire Cape. Finally, as Shen gets a bit more leeway to push a bit harder, and it's just complete starvation here from Gambit Gaming. There's no other real way for me to say it, but they are just pushing as hard as they can, and the window is closing here for paiN Gaming. They really have to make a play sooner rather than later, but as I said, it gets harder as time drags on here, and they have to know that as well.
And the reason why you always see Zeds pick up the blue buff compared to other ninjas is, although Zed has a mechanic for refreshing energy, much like every ninja has, it requires him to hit abilities with the clone, with the mimicked abilities to hit a second thing to get 35 energy back. And given the short cooldown on Shadow Slash, it has a 3-second base at 2.58 here. In reality, you're going to want to spam that ability out, and you just don't have the energy pool to be able to sustain that without blue buff.
No, and blue does give you a pretty nice jump of energy regen, so you can just spam all day and Shadow Slash the waves, which is exactly what Alex is doing here. Part of the reason he's able to split push so effectively is he just mauls down creep waves. Not to mention the fact that he's an AD-based champion means he does plenty of damage to turrets as well. And I mean, look, just inhibited turrets are getting pushed in now from GG.
And to clarify for viewers, he does have a Blade of the Ruined King, but this is the old Blade of the Ruined King, which, I mean, Zyphorus was actually very clear in saying that one of the reasons Blade of the Ruined King was changed was because it was just so strong on AD assassins, and he specifically pointed out Zed as one of the strongest abusers of the 3.02 Blade of the Ruined King.
And yeah, he's got it here. So, I mean, it's funny, there's actually 2 Blade of the Ruined Kings on Gambit Gaming, but it is, as you said, the old version, I suppose, at this point. I mean, what do we even call that era now? Because it got hotfixed so quickly that it almost feels like there's such a small window in the league world.
Well, this is the Blade of the Ruined King that gives more attack damage and no attack speed, and of course doesn't have the same active. While the active here slows and does damage based on your AD, it doesn't have that execute effect based on enemy health.
Yeah. And surprise, surprise, Darian is building a Trinity Force. I was wondering what that dagger in his inventory was for. I guess we found out. He built a Zeal. He has the parts of a phage, he is undoubtedly going to be building one of his signature items. And we're going to see Trinity Force Shen, if this game goes any longer, that is.
Whenever we see a Shen in top lane, we always talk about whether there's going to be a tipping point between where the enemy has a champion to send 1v1 against Shen. Because if Shen can actually duel that opponent and push them out of lane, he's going to get global ejectors for his team ad nauseum. And so he has the double tanky items, he has the Warmogs and the Sunfire Cape up. Trinity Force actually makes him a very, very respectable damage threat on top of that. And that trifecta there is, it's hard for anyone to deal with. I cannot see anyone be able to deal, although we do see paiN going in here.
Genji getting jumped on, but he shrugs it off. And Darian's actually going aggressive in there as well, just trying to keep out BRTT. Diamond going in there once Varus tries to get it off there. So the denting blows goes off, but does not pull the trigger on the ultimate. Kha'Zix leaps over the trees to get himself out of trouble. And Gambit Gaming pretty much take no damage there. I mean, Darian's kind of low, but he's regenerating pretty quickly with Warmogs. And he's got plenty of health left still, despite being under half at this point. But he's going to recall here at this point. Just wants to make sure he's safe. And I guess with his ultimate, he can safely heal here and make sure he's back in time. Because Gambit Gaming have started Baron. And Ed Ward is not only warding, but being a human ward there as he hangs out in mid. Looks like he is going to join the party, though.
And there's no ward here available for Kami to check the Baron. They have no vision whatsoever. And an easy Baron comes out for Gambit Gaming.
Yeah, Alex is doing a good job of cleaning out those wards as Zed, and they've got double oracles actually, so they can make sure they clear out all the wards. Darian's actually heading down bottom lane now to continue the split push shenanigans, and with a Baron buff, it's pretty hard for paiN to even 5v4 here, let alone when Shen does come in with that ultimate actual 5v5, and they're going to feel very pressured. I mean, this may be the point of no return here for paiN Gaming, but we'll have to see. If they can make a play here at this point in the game, it'll be an absolute miracle, because GG are looking to wrap things up in the next couple minutes here. Oh, nice attempt there from the ult by Varus, but we'll thread the needle there, missing everybody else. And looks like Gambit decided no team fights this game, although Diamond's going pretty aggressively in there. Stage United on top of Vi as well. Jarvan trying to zone them out, but there are bruises in the back line right now for paiN. Genji here going to take a lot of damage, but still okay there as Thresh shields him up. Kami, way too much damage from MF, who finally pulls the trigger on the ultimate, and everything, including the kitchen sink, got thrown at the carry there. But as the result there for Gambit Gaming, a 5-0 ace, as Genji picks up the double kill to seal it all off. And wow, the fact that MF lived there is pretty amazing through Kha'Zix and Jarvan, but Thresh just had all the tools he needed there, and the backline completely devastated there by Shen plus Vi.
So it was about 30 minutes into the game that we had our first true team fight here, as Gambit Gaming might even look to push for the win here. The scary thing is, before that team fight happened, there was already a 10k gold advantage for Gambit Gaming. And that's from no team fights, and not even a massive monopoly on objectives. Effectively, Gambit Gaming have bled paiN out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was calling it starvation, but bleeding is a pretty good way to look at it too. That's exactly what they did. They just kind of, just stabbed them a little bit in the side, and slowly but surely kind of watched them walk with a heavier and heavier wound in the side there. And I mean, it took one very clean team fight there for Gambit Gaming to seal the deal. But there we have it. The first game here at the Intel Extreme Masters for Gambit Gaming goes to them, and they will start things off with a bang, I suppose. Or not really a bang, but they'll start things off strong here. They'll be happy to take the first game in the group stage. And I mean, we expected paiN to probably take a loss here, but do you think that's the way they wanted to go, Papa? Do you think if you're the underdog team, you really want to be bled out of a game by a team of the caliber of Gambit Gaming? I'm expecting a little bit more fight.